Hello everyone, this is Jackie, Peacock, brand ambassador for DeepDeepLight. I hope you are well, and more importantly, I hope you enjoy this relaxing video where I try to do my best to just play and let go and to really enjoy the blending and mixing of DeepDeepLight colors. This palette, I believe, was curated by Ray. She has some videos on here and, of course, her own channel. And this is the Blooms palette, the Flower Blooms palette. So, of course, all of the links will be in the description below. So, as far as using the colors, I'm mainly focusing on the greens here, but I do pull in a yellow. But definitely check out the website and this color palette and see if any of these colors speak to you or the palette as a whole. I'm using two different brushes here, and the goal of today is to play with all of the greens and to have the watercolor flow into each other, and just to have a fun and creative banana leaf. You'll see me alternate between using wet on wet, drying my paints to create hard lines, to create blooms. I am just having fun and experimenting, which is what I encourage you to do. The sunspot will eventually go away, so apologize in advance if that is a distraction. My brushes are a script brush and then, of course, a flat square brush, and you'll see what I mean by using the square brush so I can pull the paint and create almost like an abstract, very chunky style of leaf. Not going for realism here. The goal is to play and have fun. As you can see, that dipping my brush in water and touching the other leaf where I laid down a little bit more paint helps me pull some of that paint up into it, and you can get a really fun wash. And some I let dry a little bit longer, so when the other color touches it, it creates the cauliflower effect, which can be quite useful and beautiful in your work depending on how you want to use it. I also break up the leaf so you'll see a little bit of separation, because when you look at a banana leaf, you do see lots of tears and separation in the leaves. It's a really fun way to play with blending your colors. Now, typically when you buy a set, the colors ideally automatically go with one another. I think it's pretty easy when it comes to DeepDeepLight paints in general. A lot of colors do blend together, but of course you do have, some that may not be the best ones to blend together. But this is a really fun way and a different way to practice your blending and to see how the colors can marinate. I do tip my paper up and down as I'm drying just to get some of that paint to flow down and to create a little bit of a hard edge. All right, so now you can really see it, and I am obsessed with that bloom right there in the middle. But I think that middle there, the colors are so cool. It doesn't always work, keep that in mind, but it's a really fun way to let go and to play. And you can do this technique, I think, with any subject. I'm thinking architecture would be really fun. I don't paint architecture. That's quite challenging. But if you do, this might be quite fun to use this technique. Of course, I love painting leaves. Now, if you know my work, you know that I'm a landscape painter. I always focus on landscapes, specifically mountain landscapes, because I live where I have so many forests and mountains, and that's what inspires me. And of course, just a deep connection with that specific type of nature. But there is something really magical and therapeutic about painting botanicals, specifically leaves. I'm not the biggest at painting flowers, but when it comes to leaves, I absolutely enjoy painting them. And of course, summer for us is coming to a close, and fall is very shortly around the corner. And in my area, fall is about 2 weeks, and then we typically go right into winter. I've taken a little bit of water here and I'm just kind of messing it up as I'm drying, and you can see a little bit of the paint lifting. I am just creating some fun texture, but more importantly, just exploring and not worried if it's going to turn out terrible. I will say that I do like this leaf much better than my second leaf. I didn't plan out the shape of the leaf very well, so if you wanted to do a rough sketch beforehand just to get the shape, then go ahead and do that. You can also notice how dirty my water is, and this just shows how much pigment you can pick up and how strong these colors are. So you don't need a lot, especially when you activate your paints with water. You will be able to lift quite a bit. Now, of course, ideally, you probably will be using a color mixing tray where you can mix your colors, but I like to go straight in because I love very deep and dark pigments. Now, I focused mainly on the greens here and a couple pops of yellow, but I do think if you paired the greens with the purples in this palette, that would be absolutely beautiful. And then of course pairing the greens and the yellows, or the yellows and the reds, creating some oranges, because of course as you mix the colors you're going to create different colors, and that might be quite fun. I did do something differently here. So I focused mainly on the wet on wet technique. Now, I didn't discuss the paper. I am using some inexpensive paper, and this is Canson XL that we have over here. Now, this paper is quite inexpensive, so the paint typically sits on top. If you don't have Canson XL and you want to use a quality paper, then Arch paper, the smooth press, is going to be similar, though it's not cheap paper, it's professional paper. But the paint sits on top just a little bit because of how smooth the surface is. And I do really enjoy a smooth surface, especially using wet on wet when it comes to those incredibly smooth transition of colors and water. You just don't get the same, I don't think, if you use textured paper or Arch cold press, or of course not rough press. You would have to use a tremendous amount of water to get those blooms, and of course you have texture in the paper. And so I'm just adding in some separations and definition. You could leave the leaf like this, could be the side of a leaf, but I decided to keep going. I kind of wish I didn't, but it's all right. Again, the point of this exercise is to really get to know your colors, know your palette, and to just see how they work together. And to me, this is definitely the definition of playing. This is about where I got lost in the shape of my leaf. So I do go back in trying to fix the shape. I added in my first blue there. For this leaf. And sometimes it's fun just to have one little stroke and pop of color that contrasts with the rest of the leaf. And you can see I'm adding in some more definition just by taking some of the green, a darker hue of green, and adding in some lines. Not everywhere, but just wherever I felt. And the next thing I decided to do was to take my scraping tool or my palette knife, and if there was any wet paint, I just wanted to see if I can scrape in some details. You don't have to do this. I decided on the spot that I would play with that. I don't know if you could tell a difference. You could do this when it's wet. That's typically what you want to do. But anyway, I think it turned out perfect for what it was. I really enjoyed playing with my colors and just getting the different textures. I absolutely love that first leaf, and you can see more of the wet on wet type of leaf with some definition. So really it's up to you, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.